Hello and welcome back to the rounds with SEMD. And today, well, hey, it's a treat. It's me and Mike. Mike Donovan, founder and CEO at SEMD. How are you today, Mike?
Man, I'm doing great. Better now that I get to hang out with you.
You're always too nice about that. And people, I think when people watch the maybe full length of these, they very much know that these two guys know each other. And we do. We've known each other for many, many years in the industry. I think for people just right up top that may be wondering, like, well, they know each other. That's actually a super good thing because you and I have always kind of had an appreciation for looking through a lot of the noise in industry when it comes to digital marketing, and especially lots of SEO conversation, but all of it, and being able to be candid and to be able to be truth tellers. And so, ladies and gentlemen, not for nothing, Mike Donovan is one of the most legitimate, like honest people that you're going to find in the industry. And the way that he leads his company from the very beginning, almost 15 years ago, to today is a lot about what we're going to talk about today, which is you maybe, if you know Mike, you've heard him say this phrase before of 100%, 100% customer service. And I remember the first time we talked about this, I have been in this industry just like you for so long that we have seen example after example after example of where customer service falls apart, and who is left with all of the pieces to pick up. It's the dealers or the client. If it's not an automotive, it's ultimately it's the clients that suffer through terrible customer service. And oftentimes companies get so big that the first thing that starts to break is their ability to provide this level of customer service. This seems to be the most important thing, all right? Especially when you're trying to pick a competitive service. And so I want to say this at the beginning, and I'm going to try to remember to say this at the end of this conversation. If you are somebody that watches content like this, so you're trying to make decisions, especially in a competitive category, it might very well be that the reason why you decide to work with somebody is based on the people, like who you're going to be working with and how they take care of you. Because, and Mike will tell you this, there are providers that can at least sometimes get close. There are some things that categorically one over another will far outperform others. And SEMD very much has some of those tricks up their sleeve as well. But probably more importantly, covering all aspects of whether or not you would be interested in working with a company like SEMD is going to come down to customer service, which has everything to do with how well you are treated. So I know that's a kind of a long opening, Mike, but I mean, that's on the money, right? That's in the middle of the bullseye.
Yeah, I love, and it's just so important. Like starting out in this industry, what I was doing. So I owned bars and restaurants and was in nightclubs and all that kind of stuff. And I created my own social media loyalty program, and so I started creating ways to make money through social media, but it's really on building relationships. It was on um, doing my own SEO, things of that nature. And then I ended up being invited to be in this industry through other people and to be helping do that type of stuff in the auto industry. So once I jumped in the auto industry, I realized it's a whole different beast as far as the approach on marketing and social media and that type of thing. I mean, there's similarities, but what I did was I went looking at every single SEO in the auto industry and outside of the auto industry. And so my list was as big as you can see my hands out. And but slowly but surely, I just try to figure out who's legitimate, who's not. And through all that, believe it or not, Sean Rains actually ended up being one of those people that the things that he talked about ended up being legitimate. I could test them and see that what he believed in were the things that were actually working, and he could tell he was one of the people that were hands on. What I started learning is a lot of the people that are speaking on it and acting like they're the experts don't actually do the dirty work. So, but then also at the beginning though, I started paying attention to some people that were basically swearing by what you do is you put your strategy in place and then you're charging people for you monitoring their results.
Mm.
And through that, and you backtrack to the fact that I was in the restaurant industry, and customer service wasn't just a thing for me. Like, it wasn't just a thing to try and sell to people. It was who we are, and it's what made us successful. We're running operations in a place where there's 84 places to drink in a 3-mile radius. Why
Hmm.
would they choose us? We're all doing the same thing.
Yeah.
The reason why they choose you is because you have that 100% customer service. So,
And that leads me
um,
into exactly what I kind of want to set you up with, which I think is I think that most obvious question to people, and that is like, what does this 100% customer service mean to you personally and professionally? Because you just dropped something that I think is really important for people to understand. Working in bars and restaurants is really difficult. Like, I know you got to a point because you've shared a lot of stories, but that's working with the public sometimes at their most joyful, and they're fun to work with, and also literally the worst side of humanity where they're not nice, they're not kind, and you're trying to
and
figure out how
that's
to.
why 3 to 4 days a week in the restaurant industry is full time
Yeah, yeah, crazy. So to
because of
come from
that.
that industry, but to take lessons that you've learned there around taking care of customers and bring 100% customer service mantra, if you will, into what you do today. Tell us, what does that mean to you? What does it mean on a personal and professional level?
Well, for me, on the professional level, it actually ties in with the personal level. In my opinion, 100% customer service isn't just something you do to try and get customers. It's the way you treat everybody that you interact with and that you choose to have in your circle. So that's not saying that you have to be that way with every single person you meet, but the people that you choose to move forward with and build relationships with, you should be present in conversations. You should be um, attainable. So you have to be able, they have to be able to get in touch with you. You have to be able to have efficient communication, and in some cases that means that you don't have to talk all the time, but you can get enough information across in those small amount of times when you talk that it pushes you through those times where you're not talking. But the reality is that 100% customer service for us in the business world is making sure that we're treating our employees that way, making sure that we're always present, we're listening, we're actually listening to their feedback and giving them an opportunity to grow. And if it's something that I disagree with, I can give them the reasons, but it's always the efficient communication. And the same thing goes with our clients. They have to be able to get a hold of somebody at all times. So you shouldn't have to wait for a whole day to be able to talk to somebody about something that's bothering you. You should be able to get that off your chest and have somebody working on it and know that the money that you're putting into this is actually going somewhere, and you actually have somebody on your side rather than somebody that's just reading results off a report.
Mhm. I, you said something there that I think is really important too, and that is that this isn't something that you just try to ensure is part of the service that you deliver to your clients, your paying clients, but it's also your internal customer, which are your employees. Some people, the corporate world refers to your internal customers or your employees. How do you treat them? And that is actually really critically important. And I think it's a big sign as to whether a company is one going to be long-term successful, whether or not they really are even capable of providing that level of customer service to their clients if they can't even treat their own people with dignity and respect, open communication, be efficient in making sure they've got everything they need to do the job at the highest level, all these things. So that's, I think that's awesome. Let me
Well,
ask you
that brings
this. Oh yeah, go ahead.
oh, sorry.
Like,
No, so that brings me to another piece of this is that um, that's why we choose who we work with. We're not going out to every single client to get, or every single auto dealer or every single home services company and trying to get them to do business with us. We find the people that are efficient communicators and have good reputations, and then or if they don't have a good reputation, we help them build that back up, because it's real. Those relationships are really important.
mm,
But so when you start, if you're dealing with someone that's going to treat you poorly as a vendor and as a partner, they're probably treating their employees poorly as well. And they're probably not getting the best results they can possibly get. They're going to get the best results when they're treating everybody the right way and everybody's proud to be part of what they've built. And this is actually has a name, and it's called customer centricity,
Mm,
saying that not every customer is right, but the right customer is always right.
mm, I like that. And that makes a lot of sense, actually. How did SEMD, and probably just led by you personally, but ultimately company, how did you come to adopt this type of mindset? Because it's clearly a core part of your brand and the business. How did that come about?
Well, Doug Kaywood, who's a co-founder of Search Engines MD, also one of my best friends, but he was my boss when we were opening all the bars and restaurants in the Seattle area. And the thing he taught me was that there's a couple of different things. Customer service, being good to your guest, and in the restaurant industry, they're your guests, but it's also all the your competitors that are surrounding you. It's not treating them as competitors, you treat them as neighbors. So from that, there's a lot of stuff that comes from it, but you're doing it for the right reasons. You're doing it to be good to other human beings and showing people love and building relationships. In turn, you are going to be the number one company that they want to support. Each one of those businesses have several employees, and where they're going to choose to go is where they're being treated like a neighbor.
Mm,
So there's a lot of things that come from it, but it really comes down to doing the right things for the right reasons, and not doing it just to try and get sales. It has to be who you are, or else it doesn't make it through the hard times.
mm.
The hard times is when you get to see people's true character.
That is so true. That is very, very true. When the chips are down, you find out who you're really working with, what they can
Oh yeah,
handle, what they're capable of, how considerate they can be. I mean, the spectrum of emotion and response, and what I find in what you just said is usually the most difficult thing that falls apart is people don't have any self-discipline or self-control, and then they get emotional or sensitive, or the feelings enter the equation without self-control, without any discipline, and it falls apart. But this mentality that you're talking about is a framework for something that I love, the inside out perspective. I love the internal of this is how it gets done inside of SEMD. These are all the lessons that you and Doug have learned that bring this kind of recipe for success in almost anything you decide to do, right? It's kind of an interesting type of framework with all of the people that talk about what types of uh, uh, learning and training they can bring in to improve their business, right? I'm not going to name any of them because people key into maybe my thoughts on some of it. What you're talking about feels like a much more simplistic but realistic way for a company to say nothing's going to be more important, right? It doesn't matter how efficient we can be in our own meetings if we don't even know how to take care of our people the right way. If we don't know how to do that and then let that be how we treat our customers, I think that's
yeah,
a very important concept for sure.
full
Uh,
circle.
yeah, right, for sure. So, from your perspective, in your view, what do you say separates this good customer service experience from a great one?
Well, I think good, and if especially in the marketing world, would be being pretty responsive and being polite.
Mm-hmm.
Also, relaying results and giving a little bit of feedback and that sort of thing. I think that's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I think great is being truly present in the conversations, being proactive and being accountable. So, part of being present in the conversations is understanding what's going on and anticipating the needs and being able to have some solutions, not just solutions, but solutions that are backed by data,
Mm-hmm.
and then staying on top of it, and not just putting things into place just to put them into place, but use data to say, okay, we need to accomplish this, so let's try this. And after a certain amount of time, you got to look to see, is this working or not working? If it isn't, you have to own it, take the time to change it, have the conversation, and move to the next level. But it's really with a great customer service, I would say always being able to be reachable, always paying attention to what's going on, being present in the conversations, having efficient communication. And so everybody's speaking the same language and moving the same direction together. That's great, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's What an excellent answer, because you're right. Good is somebody who is responsive. How responsive, right? But they're responsive. You
Yep.
could say that terrible is they didn't even respond. So I think you're
Yep.
absolutely right on the money. Good is responsive. Good is polite, but it's not great. Great's responsive and polite, plus all those other things you talked about. You're accountable to these things. You're anticipating it. You're present. You're level one listening to your customers. Like I love all that. I don't know what customer wouldn't want, to be receiving what would be considered great, at least by that definition. Let me ask you about I always love to ask about if there are stories, maybe like that.
Oh yeah.
So I'm curious to know if you could share something where exceptional service led to, let's just call it, maybe unexpected business success.
Oh man, we have so many. Being present in those conversations, things pop up all the time. One of the things that is really special about the people we choose to do business with is that we let them know if there's something that we can possibly help out with, even if we're not getting paid for it. You let us know so that we can see if we can come up with something, because we're more into investing in the relationship than we are into trying to nickel and dime people. So one is a pretty crazy example, and he's somebody who's big in the auto industry now and on the vendor side, but he was one of our clients. His name is James Klaus. He's a guy that was running everything on the dealership side, doing everything. And something happened where their dealer group accidentally ordered too many Shelby F-150s, and they ended up with like 10 of them or something. And they were on the way. And so James called me. He's like, look, and he only gets paid if they make money. So he calls me. He's like, okay, I got this problem. I'm panicking. What are we going to do? I was like, all right, first thing, I'm just going to have you do a quiet walk around one of the trucks, go around the truck, and because they had one in the showroom, go slow. I told him where to stop on the videos, and I was like, then just don't talk in it. Then send it over to me. I'll do the stuff on my part and try to get some visibility organically through video. So he does a video, but he thinks that his words are so freaking important. He's talking about everything on it and sends me over the video because he thinks he's so smart. Then I end up taking that and just putting some random music over it, and just to let the truck do all the talking. And then from there, I put that on YouTube. And then one of the things on YouTube is when you're editing the videos and editing the title and description, there are things you can do where you make a couple changes and then you wait a couple days and you just keep doing things like that until it grabs.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this grabbed in a couple days. It hit like 20,000 views or something to that effect. Then somebody on Facebook stole it and put it on their page, and it started getting lots of views, like hundreds of thousands of views. So what I did is I reached out to the person that posted that video. I said, okay, either you guys can put my post text on there, or else we can sue you. It's up to you, whatever you want to do. And so the guy was like, okay, we'll put it on there. So he put all my exact post text on there. All of a sudden, James calls me. He's like, what the heck's going on? I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I have to turn my phones off. They just keep ringing. And he goes, we pre-sold all 10 of those all over the United States. And I was like, okay, well, here we go then. That's good. And then we ended up having to do a case study with Facebook to show, to explain everything and show them how it worked and what went on with it. But that's what we call like the magic that can happen. That's not something that we can guarantee is going to happen every single time something pops up, but it's the magic that can happen when you are working together, you're present in the conversations, and you actually try things, even if it seems unrealistic.
Mm-hmm.
It's always going for it. And that's why we work with the people we work with, because working with the right people, that's when the magic happens.
Mm-hmm. I love that you guys just have like countless, not just stories. You have countless stories that are serious problem, and usually not even during regular business hours. Do
Yeah.
this, do this, do this. Here's a solution. And some of them, like this example, is like that started, like the solution started to come to take shape very quickly. It sounds like, but you
Yep.
guys also have lots of real world stories where it's like, yeah, and then over time, 30 days later, boom, awesomeness. Or I know on a previous conversation, Cody was sharing something where the remnants of work that you've done on clients, not yesterday, not 24 hours ago, not 30, 60, 90, 120 days ago, 10 years ago, like years and years and years ago, still absolutely owns a significant place for that particular client when it comes to SEO. And I don't hear enough companies talk about stories like that. I think it's because of something you said earlier in this conversation, where there's a lot of service providers who they set things up in the way that they set all of their clients up. And then what you're really paying for is for them to tell you a bedtime story, which is like
Yeah.
going through reporting and all of that. So, yeah, awesome story. Let me move you towards something around. Well, let me ask you this: How do you train? How do you instill this mindset across your teams at your company?
Well, so we take it very seriously. So first off, it's always talking about it. So every single we have a call every Monday morning with every employee that we have. We even have clients that'll jump on this call, and it's just a time to be able to show each other that we appreciate each other, have conversations, kind of understand where people are at for the week, not just professionally, but also personally. But then, going through and creating playbooks, we also create standard operating procedures to be able to show, give a little bit of a guideline list of things to go through to make sure that we are providing 100% customer service. And so, even if on days where you're kind of off, you have somewhere where you can just kind of take a peek, and it'll kind of guide you in that direction if you're starting to falter at all. Because at this day and age, a lot of things pop up, and it's easy to kind of drift off. So we have some of those things in place to be able to back up on.
Mm.
We also do a lot of shadowing, so we make sure that I try to be on as many phone calls as possible. So when I'm on there, I just want to show our clients that if they ever have any questions, they can reach out to me directly. But it's also to pay attention to how our account managers are treating people and treating our clients. And if I, because I always look at it like I'm the owner of that dealership, and if I'm sitting there and I'm getting upset and I'm confused, then we got to figure it out.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things is showing up and just shadowing our calls. The other part is being very specific about our kickoff questions. So through the onboarding process, really give them an idea what's important to us, and make sure that we're asking all the right questions and giving them all the correct data. But this is another basically standard operating procedure list that our team has to be able to make sure that we're communicating efficiently. Another piece is that having efficient conversations with our managers. So we want to have efficient conversations with our clients. We have to start with our managers and with our team. And so we come up with ideas every single week, make sure that we're paying attention to best practices, make sure that see if there's any clients that feel like they're not getting 100% customer service. And so then we all jump in and make sure that they know that we're paying attention to them and we actually care about what's going on. And then the other part is after we have, if we have an issue with a client and something happens where we've made a mistake, we own it 100%. We let them know that we're owning it, but it's important for our employees to see me taking responsibility for it, because even if they made the mistake, in my opinion, it's a management mistake. So the majority of the time, it's something where I should have trained them better. I should have had, because things that are common sense to me aren't necessarily common sense to everybody. And sometimes I can miss that. And when I do, we have to make sure that we own it 100%, take it in the chin, let the client know what the deal is. And then we come up with a piece of process to put in the place of that so that we don't make that mistake again. And it's blaming the process more than it's blaming the individual human being. You do want to, we want people to take responsibility for their actions individually as well. But as a company, you have to make sure that you have enough, you give them enough process and information to get for them to be able to have the most amount of success.
Yeah, I love all that. It's a little playbook in and of itself right there in that answer, which I think is great. I don't think I've done this before in other conversations for us here on the rounds, but I'm going to, based on the next thing I want to ask you, because it keys on a specific word. I'm going to make a music reference, which I know you will love because we both are big lovers of music. Billy Joel has a song called "Honesty." It's such a lonely word because everyone's so untrue. So this next question kind of is around that word is why is honesty, and this may be a personal thing for you, but why is honesty such an important part of this service, this delivery, even when it might mean that you don't get the business, you might lose a sale? Why is honesty so important to you?
You know, I maybe it's because I grew up pretty rough as a kid. So I grew up in Seattle, broken home, lots of things going. You know, pretty common story with a lot of people. A lot of people thought I would be done at 17 years old. Surprised I made it to 18, and so a lot of stuff that happened in my younger years involved me telling a lot of lies. And anytime something like that came to the table, and getting caught in a lie made me feel pretty bad about myself and just in general. So now I'm honest to a fault, and but it ends up being okay. It ends up being the right move, and it's just being brutally honest about everything and making sure that I'm taking responsibility for everything that happens. And even if it means losing a client or losing a sale, I have to take that risk because the people that end up being with me by me being honest and straightforward all the time, those are the people that belong around me, and those are the people we're going to have the best results with.
Mm, it's so true. And honesty is one of those things that you just said it actually, like being brutally honest. I honestly think that people who are trying to live by that virtue in any and all things in their life, that they're also pretty good at gentle honesty. Brutal honesty is one thing, and oftentimes it's probably more needed than being gentle with honesty. But there are a lot of different ways to kind of deliver while being honest. And all the things that we're talking about in this episode, I think, are indicators of you have to be that. You're going to have to be honest with how you're going to try to build out your team to be kind of the nucleus and the energy that is supporting how you're now going to take care of customers and go to market and how you're going to sell and how you're going to interact with people in the public. And if you go to in-person events in your industries and all those things, people get to see it. And then if
Yeah.
they get to know you, then they don't just get to see it, then they know it. That's been my personal experience with you. Like we knew each other from a business, maybe competitor standpoint,
Yeah.
um, before we knew each other from I like that guy's cool. We're gonna be friends. Like
Yeah.
I can totally get down with that dude. Like, and that might have gone on for years, but that's an example of you can see things like you mentioned, which I'm always flattered by when you mention this, but that I was a person that you were listening to when I used to do a lot of that public speaking. And I would always try to teach people from the perspective of somebody that isn't giving them just theory, but all this is exactly how to do it and why you would do it this way and what you could expect if you do it that way. But it was coming from a position of trying to be honest. But that kind of, if that's your disposition, that permeates almost all the things that you do. And I think sometimes you can be brutal with it, but I think sometimes you can also be soft and gentle with it too. So that's just me. Let me ask you another question that's about communication, because you talk about the efficiency of communication a lot. And I think that's really important for people to think what. And the reason for that is because communication isn't just communication, right? If you have inefficient communication, someone is probably not listening. I can be very much accused of this, right? I've been
Yeah.
married a long time. My wife's always like, you are not listening to me.
Yeah.
The older we get, the longer we've been married, that's a little bit of a two-way street, but she would never admit that. Now it's going to be on a video. It's going to be on this episode forever. But you talk about efficient communication. I think it's important in all areas of our lives, our personal relationships, our working relationships. How does efficient communication, how do those practices in your mind lead to these stronger customer relationships?
Well, that's actually a great question because inefficient communication, not inefficient,
Yeah.
but when you have efficient communication, um, in my opinion, it's also investing in the relationship. So you're not everything's not just a surface charge. You're actually present in the conversation. You're both paying attention to each other's vision and each other's needs, and you're being able to build a relationship just like you would as a married couple or a girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever kind of relationships you want to put out there. It's really important to really be truthful, be open minded, and so how that leads to stronger business relationships with our clients is that um, we're investing in that relationship. They always feel like they're at home. So they feel like they have someone that they can talk to at any time about any issue that comes up, even if it's something that's hard. Like some businesses will go through the stage where a lot of bad things happen and they feel like their business could go down. That's embarrassing when that's your business.
Mm.
But if you have a relationship with with somebody, you can have that real conversation with them. You don't have to be mean. You don't have to deal with that emotion in a different way. You can deal with it in a healing way where you guys are finding solutions together. And that type of thing goes a long way. When you help someone through a tough time, or even through, if we make a mistake, if you help them through a low time, if you guys work together and make it through a low time together, it's better than have never having a low time ever. So even if like we make a really bad mistake, but we find a way to make it better, we show them we care about it, we do whatever it takes to make it better, and we make it to where they're cruising moving forward. It's better to have had that experience, even though we don't want to make mistakes. It's better to have had that experience and grow from it than to have never had it before. And so that makes it. That's why a lot of our clients started with us 15 years ago and are still with us today,
Mm.
is because we're not promising that we're going to be perfect all the time. We're promising we're always going to work for the best results possible with you and be efficient with our communication and be present in the conversations.
Yeah. I think that's super important. You can't really get the outcomes that you expect, even if your expectations are low, if the communication isn't smooth, if it doesn't work. And I think it's important for people to realize that don't just accept regular communication. It needs to operate at a very efficient level. That means that you're going to be focusing on getting great outcomes from all of it, which is essentially what you're talking about. Well, what are some common customer service? Oh, did you have something you wanted to
Oh,
drop
yeah, I
there?
want to add one more thing
Yeah, yeah,
about
yeah.
how do efficient communication practices lead to stronger customer relationships? Well, the one more thing I want to add to that is the fact that right now everybody's panicking over AI, AEO, GEO, PE, whatever EO you can think of that's out there. And I'm not taking flippantly. There are, I mean, I'm saying it flippantly, but there's a lot of different things to look out for, and we believe in that.
Hmm.
And a lot of people are worried that you can just hire an AI agent to do everything for you. The differentiator is always going to be the human interaction.
Hmm. Hmm.
So the way that you treat people, that changes your reputation. The better your reputation is, the better your rankings are, the less money you have to spend on marketing. Um, so for us, showing our clients that relationship and working with them person to person at least twice a month, and then utilizing all of those pieces that we've worked on together, um, makes it to where anybody that's just using AI, they're we pass them like they're standing still. And it's because of that efficient communication. And then our clients actually get to see what it's like and what the difference is of going just AI compared to AI with efficient communication and a real relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's actually really like extra good advice in the era of AI, the AI era, let's call it. A lot of people, a lot of people. I prefer not to disclose like all the different things that I and how I use AI. The stuff that everyone knows that I'm doing with AI, at least personally, is around images and videos because I post that stuff like out of my LinkedIn and stuff just to let people know. And I've gotten pretty good at that stuff. But the real stuff that I think makes a lot more sense is stuff that I think what you're saying, it's really important to understand because it won't do some of the things that you want it to. And if you let it do too much, you're gonna head in the wrong direction. Like I think it's really important for people
I agree with that.
to
That's all.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, if you want to make everything super easy and automated, and like oh, it's just going to build a bunch of agents and let them run all these things, there are places for that. I say this repeatedly to people when I'm talking about AI, which I have these conversations around AI now a couple times a week at least. But I just tell people, what are your use cases? Like, what when you think about, I got to learn this stuff, or people come and ask me questions. You probably saw it last week. Barry Brodsky, friend of ours, mutual friend. How are you making all this stuff with like, I said, just go to Nano Banana, dude. It'll be way easier. Like, what do you mean? And I'm like, and I told him exactly what I wanted him to do. And then he went and posted it. Sean Range taught me how to do this in 5 minutes and tagged me and posted it on LinkedIn. Uh, but I tell him and I tell other people, what will be your use cases personally? There's a lot of things you can do with AI that might bring efficiency or things that make your life better, your personal life better. But from a business perspective, it's really important to ask yourself, are you really going to get into AI that needs to handle massive amounts of data? Oh yeah, I definitely need that because in my business I deal with a lot of data. Okay, great.
Yeah.
How clean is that data? Where did the data come from? How many different sources does it come from? How well do they clean it? Because the hygiene of that data is critically important to all of the outcomes. And imagine if you've got a whole bunch of, people talk about data lakes and all that they pull out as CDPs and all this kind of stuff. If the data that's in there and continually going in there is kind of dirty, compromised, it's not clean, there's not a lot of hygiene around it, and then you're going to institute AI driven processes that start happening over and over and over. Do you know what kind of compounding of awful, terrible like things that you're going to make for yourself in the future? It's crazy. So yeah, I think I love that you added that on this part of the conversation because I think people need to be working with people that think about it like you do. I got a couple more for you before we end this conversation today. This one is on common mistakes, specifically around customer service. We're talking about 100% customer service. What are some common customer service mistakes that you see in the industry? I'll let you choose whether or not you want to answer that, thinking about the automotive industry, home services, whatever you want. Maybe it works the same way for many of them. But what are some common customer service mistakes that you see, and maybe how do you guys try to avoid those?
So this is more common in auto than it is in home services. There's some of this going on, but there's a lot of over promising.
Mm,
So and companies going overboard just to try to make the sale. And so for us, um, our fix to that is having realistic targets, um, and just using the right metrics that are actually moving the needle. You can actually see if what you're doing is actually making you more money or not making you more money.
mhm,
So we like to under promise and over deliver, but we just see it a lot where you have companies that have like vanity reporting. So
mhm,
it's just like they spend so much time in it making it pretty and making it be the fanciest reporting out there that the data in it actually doesn't even matter. It's just not even things that make the needle move. It's something where you're better off just not even listening to it.
mhm,
So in addition to that, it's something that goes hand in hand with that is these proposals that you get from these fancy companies where they're putting out all these different options and so many different ways to pay or so many different ways to get charged and have all these setup fees and things of that nature. And that's something that's just too much. I feel like it's getting too greedy.
Mm,
You should, in my opinion, what we do is we offer the best SEO that we know how to provide. We provide the best meta marketing that we know how to provide, and we provide the best search engine marketing that we know how to provide. We don't have like a starter package with this kind of a setup fee and this kind of this and this. We all we do is the best possible strategy that we know how to do, and that's it.
mm,
So what you'll see in a lot of cases is that these proposals are so fancy and have so many options and so many things that next thing you know, you're paying $30,000 for something you should be getting for 10.
hmm
And you're getting nickel and dimed on these freaking um, setup fees where I understand that you're putting actual work into it, so you should be charging for it, but they get a little out of hand. And the reality is if you're really good at what you do, you can just use that as an investment in the relationship and rely on the fact that they're going to stay with you for a long time. So it's okay to just add it into the cost.
hmm
And that's my opinion on it. I know other people are going to look at it differently. There's a lot of different business ways to look at it. But in my point of view, I feel like it's just getting too greedy.
mm. I love that particular point. I think there are a lot of companies that make a lot of mistakes when it comes to customer service. And I think it's kind of interesting because tell me if the impression that you just made on me is out of line. But when I hear things like that, I think one, your company in comparison to some like some companies like a juggernaut, they charge and they try to have the prettiest reporting and all this kind of stuff. To me, the analogy is like you're the local butcher with all the experience, and I get the highest quality meat. So I go and I use this analogy because I have a local butcher that does an awesome
Yeah.
job, and I give him all my business.
Yeah.
But if I were to go and buy the same cuts, whether it's a New York strip or a ribeye or whatever, if I went to go get that at like a Whole Foods or some bougie grocery store, I'm going to spend a lot more money and I'm going to cook that the same way I always cook it. And then I'm not even going to like the quality. It doesn't even matter what they say and how they market it, right? Oh, it's grass fed, grass finished, all this kind of stuff. It's awful. It tastes like eating a shoe. It's terrible. But my local butcher, who's not, trying to present all this fancy stuff, still wearing the white coat with cow blood on it. Like it's just legit real.
Well, and their
Like,
choice meats taste better than the prime meats you buy at another place, and
yeah.
it's because of their experience.
Yeah, so they're not about all of the
Honest.
extra, you know, ornaments that they can make themselves look great. It's almost like, pay attention to how we present ourselves more than the results that we can provide you, which is like, oh my goodness. But some of those companies, not exclusive to your category, but in automotive, you see them at NADA. When your company can afford to hire the Black Crows to play at a party that you invite people to like they get to come for free, they just give you a pass. If your company makes so much money that you can rent the stadium the San Francisco Giants Major League Baseball team plays in, but not only that, you could have two or three different kinds of food. You could have a Ferris wheel in left field and three
Yeah.
different bands of national artists playing on a stage from center field. I think they're doing pretty good. Now, those are examples, real examples from years back, but that
Yeah.
still happens where companies take profit to have these big, huge parties at large industry events. Why do I bring that up? Because you not nickel and diming means you're trying to be lean and mean, provide great services. You ask a fair rate for the services you
Yeah.
provide. You don't leave people hanging in a
Well,
place
one
where
thing
they
I
like,
want to add to that, I love what you're saying. I'm sorry for cutting you off, but
no, go
um,
ahead.
one of the things I've ran into on this side of things, as far as customer service mistakes that I've seen, is when a company is a vendor, a marketing vendor, is trying to get a new deal, using the snake oil tactics to try and cut the other vendor, cut their legs out. What we believe in is just letting the dealer know this is what we're capable of. This is the service that we provide. These are the results that we expect to have. Now, if that matches up with what you have, if that's better than what you have going on, then you should use us. If it's not, you don't need to. But what a lot of the vendors are doing these days is trying to get like read-only access to your campaign so they can see your strategy. And when that's not a thing, you don't need their strategy to understand the results. You can get all the results from your GA4 reporting. You can understand how much is being spent. You can understand if those campaigns are working or not working. You don't need to use snake oil tactics to be able to sell those deals,
Yeah.
in
So
my opinion.
true. The snake oil tactics are so common in auto. The years that I spent just at dealer on, if I
Yeah.
wanted to, I could have literally done all the things to try to either confuse dealers with the jargon of things that 99% of dealers have no idea what you're talking about. Like, let's talk about schema and markup, and like some do, but most don't. And that's not a slight on them. They don't. That's not where they're supposed to be an expert. But I could have literally taken the knees out of any of them that I wanted to. Dealer, Inspire, dealer. But I didn't. I wanted to have a different perspective, which I know is yours too. It's like, know as much as you can about those people, but the way then you present to your prospects is genuine. And it goes back to something that we talked about in this conversation: honesty. There's a whole lot of people that are not honest, and it's hard to find them. I feel bad for dealers. I feel bad for a lot of people
Yeah.
buying services like this, because they just want somebody that's telling them the truth. They just want truth and honesty and help. And if you're not getting that, and you don't know that you're not getting that, that's almost criminal in my book.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit about your culture at SEMD and how you believe it probably contributes to the loyalty that you build and end up building with your customers?
Yeah. I mean, one of the most important things is that I actually go looking for the people that will fit our work environment,
Hmm.
and then I find a spot for them. The first part is like like to have people that work with us that naturally care about things without being paid or without being forced into it. Like they naturally care about things and are considerate. So that's the first part. So then once I have that, we can teach them everything. So that, basically hiring on character is what it comes down to.
Mm.
And then we can coach the skill, and we can show them all the standard operating procedures to be able to do the right things and because they already are doing the right things for the right reasons. Now we just give them a playbook of what to do so that we can be there for our clients at all times.
Mm.
But then in addition to that, so when we pull money out of the company every quarter, we spread that out amongst all of the employees that worked for it. They don't have to be in ownership. They don't. All they have to do is be out of the training session of, once they get hired, and so everybody has a chance to make money. And they don't have a set amount on what everybody gets. Whoever works the most for it and earns it and helps make us a more valuable company, they get a piece of that.
Mm.
And we don't have, I haven't ran into a time where not everybody was able to get a piece of that. So it's really cool. I'm not forcing them into it, and I'm not telling them that at the very beginning. It's something that they get just for doing the right things for the right reasons.
Yeah. What
That's
are
not something that I tell them to get them to want to work with us.
Yeah.
That's something that they get just by doing a really good job.
Yeah. What an
So
incentive, right?
yeah, so when one of our clients talks to one of our employees, they're talking to someone that truly cares about their account and takes it personally if they're not doing well. So they'll do everything in their power to find a way to get them to get good results.
Mm. Yeah. How and then the question is, then how could that not make someone loyal? I
Yeah,
think I say
exactly.
this all the time. I feel like loyalty does still exist. There are a lot of people, so come and fight me on it, but there are a lot of people who want to fight that there's no loyalty anymore, and then it kind of died with Generation X, and like people just shop all over the place. But I just don't think anybody tries to earn it. And the things that we're talking about in this conversation, I think are ingredients that make up how you can actually earn people's loyalty. And I know you and I, we have loyalties to certain brands because they earned it. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
so there are definitely people that get my money, get my attention, whatever it is, even if it's not somewhere I have to spend a lot of money, but they just need my attention for something because I have a loyalty to them. It's always because they earned it, but most people just don't. They just don't try. Um, and so I don't know. Do you remember Jeffrey Gitomer? He's still out there. I think he's like a sales trainer across all people. I saw one of his talks one time where he said, "Would you rather have a satisfied or a loyal spouse?" And the whole room's like, oh, kind of laughing, a little bit. And he's like, um, satisfied customers will shop around. They'll see if they can find a better deal. Loyal customers would rather you gouge their eyes out with a spoon if to have to even think about using someone else or going to work with anybody else. That
I
is
love
why
that. That's a great because that's not an easy question to answer right off the bat.
it isn't. And I've used
You
that from
know,
him and give him credit for that all the time because I think it really helps bring clarity to you should be working for satisfaction, but more importantly, you should be looking and earning the loyalty of customers because loyal
I love
customers
that.
will not shop. They don't want to work with anybody else. They don't care if they can find it $500 cheaper. They don't care if it's 2 minutes closer to their house, whatever the scenario is. They care about all the things that you had to do to build up loyalty in them. So,
I
um,
love that piece. I
yeah,
love it. Love
yeah,
it.
yeah.
That's
Well, you guys
that's
do a lot of that. So,
we
take
do, but putting it like that means something to me. That's awesome.
well, then that's paying it forward. And you just take Jeffrey Gitomer's words, and like that's a great way to help people understand. And I think it is a very much a hallmark of the way that you guys do things. The last thing I want to give you a couple seconds on, if you want, is there a way, or if so, how do you measure success when you're talking about your customers? Like if they're satisfied, if they're loyal, like how do you guys measure that?
The way that we measure it is through our conversations for one, and for two, when things are rough.
Mm,
So you can tell the true character of a relationship when times are bad. When results are tough, because results are going to go down sometimes. It's
mm,
just part of the deal. Um, unless you guys know someone who's perfect and never sees any dips, then guess
yeah.
I just don't get that. But the fact of the matter is when things get rough and you guys can work together as a team rather than blaming each other and pointing fingers,
Hmm.
then that is how we gauge that we have the right customer and we're working with the right people. And that's how we gauge success.
Love that. Love it, love it, love it. Well, just like that, we've just done another session of the rounds. We've just made another round, if you will, which is fantastic. Mike, I always appreciate you taking the time. To the audience listening and or watching, we say it all the time. Make sure that you go to LinkedIn and, of course, follow Search Engines MD. Follow Mike over there, the whole team. I always try to recommend this when you've found companies that you really like, even if it's before you're working with them, you're just learning about them. LinkedIn's been around a long time, but most people don't use it the way they should. So go to LinkedIn, look up Search Engines MD, and when you do that, um, filter out all the people that work there. Because they have at least a few people, a handful of them, that are active on LinkedIn and they post really good content. They post a lot of educational, this is what's going on, here's real world scenarios. You're not going to get a whole bunch of fluff posts of things that were carved out of somebody that learned how to use Canva yesterday. You're going to get people that are posting things that are probably really, really helpful, providing you some insights. And so I highly encourage that. Mike's easy to find, so is Search Engines MD. If you're consuming this content on YouTube, please subscribe and like it. That obviously helps the channel and it'll also notify you when we post more content there. So we always appreciate your attention. We never want to waste your time. Hopefully you got something out of this conversation. Mike, thanks again for taking the time. We'll see
Thank you
you
for
all
having
next
me.
time on the
All
rounds.
right. Peace.